Over 300 participants attended the annual conference on immigration under the theme Migration in Africa, held at St. Joseph's Theological Institute in Cedara Hilton, KwaZulu-Natal. During the 2 days conference, representatives from the Southern African Catholic Bishops' Conference, SACBC, as well as theologians and religious leaders from other faith-based organizations called for the inclusion of ministry on migration to better assist people on the move in Africa.
I think local people perhaps don't see it as their job. And yet, as I've tried to say, by virtue of being baptized, we then claim to belong to one church, to one community. And therefore, we all have a duty to recognize that we're brothers and sisters. That's the bottom line. So that's where the church is slow. I think we have an obligation to raise the issue of migrants, asylum seekers, refugees. We've got to put that high on our agenda so that increasingly people may begin to appreciate the struggles, the plight of migrants. As I say, for example, in Johannesburg, I don't know, Johannesburg, Cape Town, Durban, if you go to these major cities, people sleep on the pavement, under the bridges. So you cannot say you don't see what is happening, the plight of other people who beg at street corners, etc., crossroads, etc. We can't deny that we don't see their plight. Therefore, communities should make it their job to try and support migrants as much as they can. On the positive side, I see a lot of churches, different churches, and not only Christian churches, but also religious communities, Islam, for example, and the Jews. They have soup kitchens. You might say it's small. It's not small for people who sleep on the street, who wakes up and say, where do I get my meal? All the people who sleep on the pavements in Johannesburg, they know where to get their meals. They know the different churches, places where soup is offered for them, free of charge. The places where they can sleep, the places where, like St. Vincent de Paul, different areas where they can collect second-hand clothing to help themselves. So there are those efforts that are there, but we need to make sure that even at our parish communities, there should be an active support for migrants. If we do that, because if the local people become aware of the needs of migrants, they will not become involved in violence against migrants. They will, because then they'll be fighting their own neighbors. They'll be fighting their own neighbors. I was amazed at the number of people from other countries, in Soweto, for example. I used to be under the impression that migrants are only in town, Hillbrow, Joubert Park, and places like that. That's not true. You find them in the township itself, and they are there as part of parishioners. If they are part of parishioners, then they would then be forming a community with the local people. And when there's a problem, it will be a problem of everybody, and not just migrants singled out. So I think that's what the church should promote, that in every community there's an active role played by locals vis-a-vis the migrant community, that they become integrated. And when that happens, I think you will have less and less conflict.
Bishop Nkosinathi Zondi is the Executive Secretary of the KwaZulu-Natal Christian Council.
Well, I'm Bishop Nathi Zondi. I come from the KwaZulu-Natal Christian Council, attending the 2023 Annual Conference on Migration in Africa. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience to exchange ideas on how we can best minister to the migrant communities in our country, but also to look at some of the issues and other areas that affect the migrant community. I think it was a powerful, powerful and very important conference indeed.
And how does this relate to the work that you do as a religious leader?
Well, what it has done for me as a religious leader and a pastor, but also as a leader in the Council of Churches, was to give me different perspectives and different experiences of people from different walks of life. Because sometimes we look at it narrowly and not realize that people experience migration differently, depending on where they come from and depending on the issues that they are grappling with. it was an eye-opener in that way. Because in a way, as a church leader, I deal with communities that are diverse. And because of that diversity, you also need to be equipped from different perspectives and different experiences of people. It was really important for me to be here.